The market was alive with noise, bright lights, and strange smells. Yet no one noticed the small alien girl running through the crowd, her bare feet hitting the ground, her breath heavy, her eyes wide with fear. She pushed between tall merchants and glowing stalls, but her small body shook as if the shadows themselves chased her. Then suddenly she saw him, a human, standing quietly near a fruit stall, carrying a small bag of tools, his clothes simple, his face tired, but his presence was strong, different from the others around. Humans were rare in this city. Most people ignored them, but this girl's instincts told her he was the only safe place she had left. She rushed forward without thinking, her tiny hands grabbing the side of his coat, and she hid behind him, trembling like a leaf in the wind. The human froze, confused. He looked down and saw the girl, her skin pale blue with faint silver lines across her cheeks, marks that glowed softly, her eyes big and full of tears. "What?" he whispered. But before he could finish, 3 armored alien guards appeared at the end of the street, their faces cold, their eyes scanning the crowd. The people stepped aside quickly. No one dared stop them. The guards carried long weapons that hummed with power, and they were clearly hunting someone. The human felt the girl clutch his coat tighter, her breath sharp, her small voice shaking as she whispered, "Please don't let them see me, please." He turned slightly, his eyes narrowing. "Who are they?" he asked, but she only shook her head, too scared to answer. The guards moved closer, their boots striking the ground in rhythm, their eyes burning through the crowd. The market grew silent. Everyone pretended not to notice. Everyone lowered their heads. It was as if the whole city had already chosen to abandon her. The human sighed, his jaw tightening. He had promised himself not to get involved in local troubles. He was only here for work, fixing old machines and trading for food. But now this girl, a stranger, had hidden behind him, and her fear pressed against his heart like a weight. One guard shouted, "You there, human! Step aside!" His voice was harsh, echoing across the street. People turned to see what would happen. Some even smiled nervously, waiting for the human to give up the girl. But he did not move. He stood still, his tired eyes steady, the girl hiding behind his legs, her fingers gripping him as if he was her last hope. The guard narrowed his eyes. "We are looking for a child, blue skin, silver marks. Dangerous property of the state," he said firmly, his weapon raised just slightly, a warning. The human glanced down at the girl again. She looked up at him with tearful eyes, shaking her head violently, whispering, "No, no, please." Something inside him shifted, he didn't know why, but in that moment, he couldn't hand her over. Maybe it was the way she shook, maybe it was the way her eyes carried both fear and hope, or maybe it was because he knew what it felt like to be alone. Ignored by everyone, he cleared his throat, speaking slowly. "I don't know what you're talking about." "I haven't seen anyone." The guards studied him carefully, their eyes suspicious, the air heavy with tension. The girl held her breath, too afraid to even move. The market around them was silent as stone. Only the hum of the guard's weapon filled the air. Finally, one guard growled, "If you see her, report it, human. It will be worse for you if you hide her." They stepped past, still scanning the crowd, their heavy steps fading into the distance. The human exhaled quietly. The girl collapsed to her knees, shaking with relief, tears running down her cheeks. She pressed her hands together, whispering, "Thank you, thank you." He bent down, his voice calm but firm. "Who are you? And why are they after you?" But she did not answer, only looked at him with those wide, broken eyes, full of secrets she was too afraid to share. The human stood looking around. The crowd was moving again, pretending nothing had happened, but he knew this wasn't over. He had just stepped into something dangerous, something that could change everything. The girl stood slowly, her small hand still holding his sleeve, silent, fragile, but refusing to let go. And deep inside, he knew. Whatever truth she carried, it would not only change his life, but maybe break his heart. The night was heavy with silence, the kind of silence that felt alive. The human walked slowly through the narrow streets of the alien city, the girl still clinging to his sleeve, her eyes darting left and right, her small frame trembling. Every shadow seemed to scare her. Every sound made her flinch, as if danger waited behind every wall. He finally stopped near a dim corner, away from the noise of the market, his voice low but firm. "You need to tell me the truth, child. Who are you and why are they hunting you?" His eyes searched her face, hoping for answers, but she only bit her lip, her head shaking. "If I tell you, you'll leave me too, like everyone else," she whispered, her voice breaking. The words cut through him. The human frowned. He wanted to walk away, He had work tomorrow, he had debts to pay, and he had already made one mistake by standing against the guards, but something about her voice, about her trembling hands, refused to let him move on. Before he could speak again, a group of old merchants passed by, their voices hushed, yet the girl's sharp ears caught every word. "Did you hear?" "The silver-marked child escaped again," one muttered. "They say she carries something inside her blood." "Something the rulers want," another replied. "Huh, not my problem," a third spat. "If she is caught, they will punish anyone near her. Better to pretend she doesn't exist." Their footsteps faded, their laughter cruel. The girl pressed her hands over her ears. Her shoulders shaking, the human clenched his fists. Now he understood. People knew her. They knew her secret, but none of them wanted to help. Fear had made them blind. "Come with me," he muttered at last, guiding her through the back alleys. She followed, her trust fragile but real. He led her to his small workshop at the edge of the city, a tiny room filled with broken machines, tools, and a flickering lamp. Not much, but safer than the open streets. As soon as the door closed, the girl sat quietly on the floor, hugging her knees, her glowing silver marks faint in the dim light. She looked like a ghost lost in the wrong world. The human sat across from her, his voice softer now. "Listen, I'm no hero. I'm just a mechanic. I fix things, that's all. But those guards were ready to kill for you. So I need to know, what did you do?" She looked up, her lips trembling. "I didn't do anything," she said, her voice rising with pain. "I was born, and that was enough." Tears rolled down her cheeks. "My family gave me away. The city marked me as dangerous. They say my blood is cursed, but I never wanted this. I just wanted to live." The human stared at her, his chest tightening. He had seen cruel things before, but this was different. She was just a child. Yet the whole world had already decided her fate. Before he could reply, a loud knock shook the door. Both froze. The girl's breath stopped, her eyes wide with terror. The human grabbed a wrench from his table, his heart pounding. "Open up!" A voice barked from outside. "Routine check!" He glanced at the girl. She shook her head violently, whispering, "Please, if they find me, I'll never come back." Her tears shining in the flickering light. The human thought fast. He moved a heavy crate aside, revealing a small gap in the wall. "Hide in there. And don't make a sound," he ordered. She crawled in quickly, her small body curling tight. The crate slid back just as the door was forced open. 2 guards entered, their weapons glowing faintly, their eyes scanning the room. "Human," one sneered. "You were seen at the market earlier. Did you notice anything unusual?" The human shrugged, keeping his voice calm. "The market is always unusual, nothing new for me." He turned his back, pretending to work on a broken engine. His hands steady, though his heart raced. The guard stepped closer. One kicked a pile of scrap aside. "You would be wise not to lie." "Human," the second hissed. "The child is dangerous. She carries a secret that can burn worlds." Their words hung heavy in the air. The girl inside the crate covered her mouth, tears streaming down her cheeks, every muscle in her body begging to cry out. But she stayed still, silent, trapped in darkness. Finally, after long, tense moments, the guards turned. "Remember," one warned, "if you hide her, you will die with her." They slammed the door shut and left, their boots echoing down the street. The human exhaled slowly, sweat running down his neck. He pushed the crate aside. The girl crawled out, gasping for breath, her eyes red from holding back tears. She looked at him, desperate and fragile. Why did you help me?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. He didn't answer right away. He only looked at her, then at the broken machines around him, and finally said, "Because no one else would." The girl stared at him as if hearing those words for the first time in her life, her body shaking with both fear and relief. And in that small workshop, surrounded by shadows and silence, a fragile bond began to grow, but outside, in the dark streets, whispers spread like fire. The girl was still alive, and the hunters were closing in. The workshop was quiet, but the silence was not peaceful. It was heavy, full of questions that had no answers. The human sat at his small table, turning a broken gear in his hands, his eyes fixed but his mind far away. The girl sat in the corner, hugging her knees, her silver marks glowing faintly like moonlight in the dark room. For a long time, neither of them spoke. The sound of the flickering lamp was the only thing alive in the room. Finally, the human sighed, his voice low. "You can't stay here forever. The guards will come again. And next time, they won't just ask questions. They'll tear this place apart." The girl's eyes lifted slowly, her lips trembling. "I know," she whispered, But I have nowhere else to go, she paused. Looking down, her small fingers clutching at the floor. You don't understand. If they find me, I'll never come back, I'll disappear. Just like the others, the human frowned. Others? He asked, leaning forward, his voice sharp now. What do you mean by others? She hesitated, her eyes filling with tears. Then she whispered, There were more like me. Children with marks, silver or gold. But one by one they vanished. Taken away by guards, no one saw them again. Some say they were sold. Some say their blood was drained for power. I don't know which is true, but I know they never returned. Her words made his stomach twist. He stared at her glowing lines, faint but strange, not natural. What's inside you? He asked slowly. Why are you so valuable to them? She shook her head, pressing her palms to her face. I didn't ask for this, I didn't want it, I was just born with it. Her voice broke. They say my blood carries something, an energy, something ancient. It can power ships, heal wounds, or destroy if used wrong. I don't even understand it myself, but they say I'm not a person. I'm property. The human's jaw clenched, his heart pounding. He had seen many cruel systems in his life, but never something like this. A child hunted like a machine part, valued only for what flowed in her veins. She looked at him through her tears, her voice weak. If you keep me here, they will kill you too, everyone who tried to help me before. They're gone, I don't want you to disappear because of me. Her words struck him deep. He leaned back, his thoughts heavy. Part of him wanted to push her away, to tell her to run, to make her someone else's problem, but another part, stronger, refused. Because in her eyes he saw something he once lost long ago. Hope. Fragile and dying, but still alive. The night dragged on, and he couldn't sleep. He sat by the window, watching shadows move outside. Whispers of footsteps. Maybe guards, maybe spies, he couldn't tell. The girl lay curled up near the workbench, her breathing soft. But even in sleep, her face looked haunted, as if nightmares chased her even in dreams. Suddenly, a loud crash outside broke the stillness. The girl jolted awake, her eyes wide. She rushed to him, whispering, They're here again. He peeked through a crack, his stomach turning cold. A group of hunters, not guards this time, but masked men carrying chains and nets. Bounty hunters, crueler and more desperate. They weren't here for law, they were here for money. The girl's hands gripped his arm, her voice breaking. They'll take me, they'll sell me, please. The human's mind raced. He had no weapons except his tools. No plan, no allies, but something burned inside him. Stronger than fear, he turned to her. If I help you escape, you have to trust me completely. Her eyes locked with his. Full of fear but also faith, she nodded quickly. I trust you. He grabbed his bag, stuffing in only a few tools and a small lantern, then opened the floor panel he had built long ago as an emergency tunnel, a hidden escape he never thought he'd use. Down here fast, he whispered. They crawled through the narrow passage, dust filling their lungs, the girl's small hands scraping against rough stone. Above them, the sound of doors breaking, voices shouting, hunters tearing apart the workshop. The tunnel opened into the city's underbelly, a maze of old pipes dripping water, and forgotten paths. The human lifted the lantern, shadows stretching long across the walls. The girl stayed close, her breath uneven, her eyes glowing faintly in the dark. As they walked deeper, her voice shook. You shouldn't have done this. Now they'll never stop hunting you either. He glanced at her. His face set. Maybe, but I'm not letting them take you. For the first time, she looked at him differently. Not just as a stranger who saved her, but as someone who carried her burden with him, even when it was too heavy. But in the distance, faint echoes of footsteps followed. Whispers in the dark tunnels. The hunters were already on their trail, and the secret she carried felt heavier than ever. The human tightened his grip on the lantern. His heart steady despite the danger. He knew now. This was only the beginning. And the truth about the girl would not only change his fate, but maybe the fate of the galaxy itself. The tunnel stretched endlessly, damp and echoing, the air thick with the smell of rust and wet stone. The human carried the lantern ahead, its weak light dancing on the walls. Behind him, the girl followed closely, her breath sharp, her glowing silver lines dim but still visible in the dark. For a while, only the dripping water broke the silence, but the weight of what she had said earlier hung between them. Her blood, her marks, her curse, whatever it was more than just a secret. It was something powerful enough to make the whole city hunt her. At last, the human stopped in a larger chamber, where the ceiling rose high and broken pipes jutted out like ribs of a dead beast. He turned to her, his voice steady but sharp. Enough running without answers if I don't know the truth. I can't protect you, what are you hiding? The girl froze, her small hands tightening at her sides. Tears gathered in her eyes. She wanted to speak, but fear sealed her lips. He softened his tone, kneeling slightly so his tired eyes met her trembling ones. Child, you're carrying a burden too heavy alone. If you don't trust me now, you'll be lost. And I can't help you. Her lips parted. Her voice a whisper. I was born to a powerful clan. A family of rulers. My father was a warlord. My mother a healer, but when I came, they saw the silver marks and called me cursed. They said I was touched by an old power, something from before the stars were mapped. She took a shaky breath. They gave me away, traded me to the state, said I was not their child but a tool, a weapon waiting to be used. The human's chest tightened. He had seen cruelty. But this, parents abandoning their child because she was different, burned his heart. And the others like you? The children you spoke of? He asked quietly. She nodded, her tears spilling. They were taken into labs. I heard their screams. I saw the guards drag them away. No one came back. I think they were drained until nothing was left. Her hands shook violently. They say one child like me can power a warship for years. Or heal an entire army with one drop of blood. That's why they call us property, not people. The human clenched his fists, anger rising inside him, his voice cold. You're not property, you're a child. And no one has the right to use you like that. Her eyes widened at his words. No one had ever said that to her. Not once, her voice cracked. But they'll never stop. I'm too valuable. My blood is too dangerous, even you, if they know you helped me. They'll break you. He shook his head firmly. Let them try, before either could say more. A sudden noise echoed through the tunnels. Heavy boots, the hunters had found their trail. Voices bounced off the stone walls. Orders sharp and cruel. Search every passage. She must not escape. The girl gasped. Panic flooding her face, the human grabbed her hand, pulling her into another narrow corridor. The lantern swayed wildly, shadows stretching like claws. They ran through dripping water, their footsteps muffled but fast. After minutes of running, they stumbled into a forgotten chamber, old symbols carved into the walls, faintly glowing as the girl entered. She froze, her breath catching. This place, I've seen it before in my dreams. The human frowned, scanning the strange carvings. They pulsed softly with the same silver light that ran across her skin, like the place itself recognized her. What is this? He whispered, her voice shook. It's the mark's origin, the old power. It lives in me because I'm connected to them, to the ancient ones who once ruled the stars. Her eyes shimmered. This is why they fear me and why they want me. Because if I learned to control it, I could destroy them all. The chamber trembled faintly, as if her words awakened something buried. The human stared at her, the truth sinking in. She wasn't just a hunted child, she was a key, a weapon. Maybe even a future no one in the galaxy was ready for. Suddenly, the hunters' torches glowed in the tunnels outside, their shouts growing louder. The human grabbed her shoulders, looking into her frightened eyes. Listen to me, whatever this power is, you're not cursed. You're not property, you're alive, and that makes you worth more than any warship. Her tears fell, but this time they were mixed with something else. Hope, fragile but real. For the first time, she believed someone saw her as more than a tool. The hunters closed in, their shadows spilling across the chamber walls. The human stood in front of her, his lantern flickering, his jaw set, his heart ready. He knew the truth now, and he knew what it meant. Protecting her would not just risk his life, it might change the entire galaxy. The girl whispered softly behind him, her voice trembling but stronger than before. I don't want to be a weapon. I just want to be free. And as the hunters entered, their chains clattering, their eyes burning with greed, the human raised the heavy wrench in his hand, ready to fight, ready to stand, because he had already made his choice. The chamber shook with heavy footsteps, the sound echoing off the stone like a drum of war. The hunters were close now. Their shadows flickered on the walls, long and sharp. The human tightened his grip on the wrench, his tired eyes steady, his body ready even though he knew he was just one man against many. The girl clutched the back of his coat, her silver marks glowing brighter, fear rushing through her veins. She whispered, They will never stop, they will chain me. They will bleed me until nothing is left, her voice cracked. You shouldn't fight for me. You'll die. Enough. The human cut her off, his voice calm but fierce. I don't care who they are or what they want. No one takes you while I'm standing." Before she could reply, the hunters stormed into the chamber, 6 of them, masked and armored, their weapons glowing faint red. Chains rattling in their hands, one of them laughed, his voice muffled. "There she is, the little silver-marked treasure, and the fool human who thinks he can protect her." The others spread out, blocking every path, their eyes hungry for profit. One raised his net, glowing with electric threads. "Alive, she's worth a fortune, but if she resists—" "We can break her legs first," he sneered. The girl whimpered, clutching tighter to the human. His jaw tightened, anger boiling in his chest. "You'll have to break me first," he growled. Stepping forward, the first hunter lunged. Swinging his chain, the human ducked low, his wrench slamming against the man's wrist. The chain clattered to the ground. The hunter cursed, but another came from the side. The human blocked with his arm, pain shooting through his bone, yet he pushed back, striking the man's mask with the wrench until sparks flew. The girl gasped, her silver marks glowing brighter, the chamber walls pulsing with the same rhythm, as if the place itself responded to her fear. One hunter froze for a second, his eyes wide. The power. "It's waking in her," he shouted. The leader snarled, "Then bind her fast." 2 hunters rushed at her, their nets sparking. The human roared, throwing himself in front of them, his body taking the shock, pain ripping through his chest, but he stood, forcing his wrench into one hunter's chest plate. The man fell back with a scream. The girl's tears burned hot. She felt the energy inside her surge, her skin glowing brighter. The carvings on the walls lit up like fire. The hunters stumbled back in fear, shadows twisting across the chamber. "What is this?" one cried, his weapon shaking in his hand. The girl's voice rose, trembling but powerful. "I don't want to hurt anyone, but if you force me—" The energy flared, the stone walls cracked with silver light. The hunters screamed, blinded for a moment. The human grabbed her hand. "Now! Run!" They bolted through a narrow tunnel at the back, the hunters stumbling after them, shouting curses, their boots pounding on stone. The girl's glowing marks lit the way ahead. The human's lungs burned, but he didn't slow, dragging her with him. The tunnel twisted endlessly, dripping water and sharp turns, their footsteps echoing. Behind them, the hunters grew closer. One fired a bolt of red energy. It slammed into the wall near them, sparks raining down. The girl screamed. The human shielded her, pressing forward with everything he had. At last, they stumbled into the city's underbelly again, pipes hissing steam, the ground shaking with machines above. The human pulled her behind a broken tank, his chest heaving, sweat and blood mixing on his face. "We can't keep running forever," he muttered. The girl's eyes glistened. "Then leave me. Maybe they'll spare you if you give me to them." He looked at her, his voice rough but steady. "I told you once I won't hand you over. Not now, not ever." Her lips trembled, her tears falling silently. No one had ever said such words to her. No one had ever chosen her over their own safety. The hunters' voices echoed closer, torches glowing in the distance, chains rattling. "They went this way. Corner them." The human grabbed her hand again. "There's an old sewage line ahead. It leads outside the city. If we reach it before they do, we might have a chance." They ran again, stumbling through pipes and dripping sludge. The hunters closed behind, the city above alive with distant lights. But down here it was only darkness, fear, and the sound of pursuit. The girl's glowing marks lit the way forward, but they also betrayed their position. The hunters shouted in triumph whenever the light flickered ahead. "She's close! Don't let her escape!" Finally, they reached a heavy grate, rusted but locked. The human slammed his wrench against it, again and again, sparks flying, his arms shaking. The hunter's footsteps closing in. The girl pressed her glowing hands to the metal, her marks pulsing, silver light spreading across the grate, and with a sharp crack the lock shattered, the path opening. The human dragged her through, pulling the grate shut behind them. They stumbled into the night air, stars shining faint above the ruined outskirts of the city. But the hunters were not far, their shadows already spilling into the tunnel behind. The girl collapsed to her knees, gasping, her tears shining. "They'll never stop. They'll chase us to the ends of the galaxy." The human stood above her, his wrench dripping with sweat and blood, his tired eyes burning with fire. "Then let them chase," he said, his voice like steel. "I'll fight them until my last breath, and far behind—" The hunters howled in rage, their chains clattering, their voices swearing because the chase was not over. It had only just begun. The night air outside the city was cold, carrying dust and smoke. The human and the girl stumbled across broken ground, the ruined outskirts stretching like a dead sea under the stars, their breaths heavy, their steps uneven. Behind them, the hunters' voices still echoed. Cruel and hungry, the human stopped near a cluster of rocks, pulling the girl down with him, both gasping for air. The city lights flickered in the distance. Far yet dangerous, he knew the hunters wouldn't stop, not until she was caught or killed. His chest heaved as he whispered, "We can't keep running forever, child. Sooner or later they'll corner us." The girl hugged her knees, her glowing marks faint now, her tears glistening. "Then you should leave me, let me go. If I'm gone, they won't waste time on you." "They'll let you live," she said, her voice breaking. He turned sharply, his tired eyes fierce. "No," he said firmly, his voice low but full of fire. "You're not property. You're not something to be abandoned. You're a child, and no one deserves to be hunted like this." Her lips trembled. "But you don't understand. They will kill you too. You've already defied them, and no one in this world fights the rulers in lives." Her voice cracked. "I don't want you to die because of me." The human looked away for a moment, his jaw tight, his memories flashing. His own past of being left alone, of being forgotten, of fighting just to exist. He saw himself in her, small and desperate, abandoned by the world, and that was why he couldn't walk away. "I made my choice when you hid behind me," he said quietly. "I will not hand you over, not now. Not ever." She stared at him, her heart pounding, those words striking her deeper than anything she had ever heard. No one had ever chosen her before. No one had ever stood beside her without wanting something in return. Suddenly a whistle cut through the air, bright flares lighting the sky behind them. The hunters were closing in again, their torches glowing like a river of fire moving across the broken land. The girl gasped, clutching his sleeve. "They've found us!" The human stood, gripping his wrench tighter, his voice steady despite the fear. "Then we'll keep moving. Until the stars fall if we have to." They stumbled into an abandoned settlement. Broken houses, shattered machines, rusted frames of old transports. The wind howled through empty windows. Everything smelled of dust and forgotten lives. The girl shivered. What happened here? The human glanced around, his voice grim. "War long before your time. This is what rulers do. They take, they destroy, and then they leave nothing." His words carried bitterness. They slipped into a broken building, hiding among collapsed walls. The human checked the door while the girl sat quietly. Her small hands glowing faintly in the dark, she whispered, "Why are you like this? Why do you keep helping me when it would be easier to throw me away?" He turned, his tired eyes meeting hers. "Because I know what it feels like," he said softly. "To be unwanted, to be seen as nothing. To beg for someone to see you and to have no one come. I will not let you feel that alone, not while I still breathe." Her eyes filled with tears. But this time they weren't only from fear, there was something else, something new, something warm. Then the sound of chains rattled outside, voices shouting, "Search every ruin! She's close!" The hunters were already in the settlement, their boots crunching on broken stone. The girl panicked, her voice trembling. "You can still run. If you leave me now, they might not chase you." The human crouched beside her, gripping her shoulders, his voice fierce. "No, listen to me. This is not about running anymore, this is about choice. Their choice is to see you as property. My choice is to see you as a person, and I will not change that. Even if it kills me." Her heart pounded. His words seared into her soul. She whispered, "Why? Why risk everything?" He looked at her, his voice low but steady. "Because that's what it means to be human." The hunters' voices grew louder, chains clanging, weapons humming. The girl's glowing marks flared brighter, reflecting her rising fear. The air around them seemed alive, pulsing with energy. The human placed himself in front of her, ready to face whatever came in that moment. The world shrank to a single choice: betray her and save himself, or stand with her and face the wrath of an empire. He had already made his answer. Long before the question was asked outside, the hunters prepared to storm the ruin, their laughter sharp, their greed louder than the wind. Inside, the human and the girl stood side by side. "Fragile yet unbroken," the girl whispered, her voice shaking but filled with a strange strength. "If you stay with me, then maybe I'm not cursed after all." And as the door began to break under the hunter's force, the human clenched his wrench, his jaw set, his heart steady. He had chosen, and nothing in the galaxy would make him turn back. The ruined building shook as the hunters slammed the door, chains rattling, their cruel laughter echoing through the night. The girl pressed close to the wall, her silver marks glowing brighter with fear. The human stood in front of her, his wrench steady in his hands, his chest rising and falling with calm determination. The first hunter burst through, his weapon glowing red, his mask shining in the lantern light. "There you are, little treasure," he sneered. And the stubborn human who thinks he's more than dust. The human swung the wrench hard. Striking the weapon from his grip, sparks flew. The hunter fell back with a curse, but two more stormed in, nets crackling with energy. The girl screamed, her hands glowing, the walls trembling with her fear. The human blocked the first net, the electric charge tearing through his body, pain burning his muscles, but he didn't let go. With a roar, he ripped the net apart and slammed his wrench into the attacker's chest plate, sending him crashing into the wall. The girl's tears fell, her voice breaking. "They'll kill you, please stop," he turned briefly, his eyes soft but fierce. "As long as I stand." "They won't touch you," her heart pounded. Her marks flared like fire, light spreading across the broken stone. The hunters froze, their eyes wide. "The power, she's awakening it," one shouted, fear in his voice. The leader stepped forward, his chains glowing, his voice harsh. "Do it, child, unleash it. Give me the storm I came for, your blood belongs to us." The girl shook her head violently, sobbing. "I don't want to be a weapon. I don't want to hurt anyone." The human's voice cut through the chaos, calm and steady. "Listen to me, you're not a weapon. You're not property, you're a person, you're more than what they want from you." He stepped closer to her, ignoring the hunters. "And if you choose to be free, then no power in this galaxy can stop you." Her tears fell, her glowing marks pulsed, then suddenly, the chamber exploded with silver light, not from rage but from her choice. Her heart breaking open, her soul refusing the chains. The hunter screamed as the walls lit up, the ancient carvings alive, the air vibrating with raw energy. The human shielded her with his body, though the light did not harm him, instead it flowed around him, as if the bond between them was recognized by the ancient power itself. The hunters fell back, their chains melting, their weapons crumbling, their voices filled with terror. "She's chosen. The power rejects us," they cried, stumbling into the shadows. Fleeing into the night when the light faded, the girl collapsed into the human's arms, trembling, her body weak, her marks glowing softly now like gentle stars on her skin. He held her close, whispering, "It's over. They're gone." But she shook her head weakly, her voice faint. "It's never over. More will come. They will always want me." He lifted her chin, his eyes steady. "Then let them come. We'll face them together. No matter how many, no matter how strong, you're not alone anymore." Her lips trembled, her eyes filling again, but this time with something new. Hope. "Fragile yet real," she whispered. "You don't even know me. Why would you stay?" His voice was soft but firm, carrying the weight of everything he was. Because that's what it means to be human, to stand for someone when no one else will. She closed her eyes, leaning into him, her tears warm against his chest. For the first time in her short life, she believed she was not cursed, not abandoned, but chosen, far above them. The city lights flickered as whispers began to spread, stories of a human who stood against hunters, stories of a child who glowed with ancient power. The tale spread from lips to lips, faster than fire in dry grass. Across the galaxy, leaders trembled, merchants whispered, and the forgotten listened, because one simple bond, between a hunted girl and a tired human, had already begun to shake the order of stars. The human stood with her in his arms, staring into the night sky, his body weak but his spirit burning. He knew their fight was only beginning, that danger would follow them, that the galaxy would never let them rest. But he also knew one truth that could not be broken. The bond they had made in the darkness and fear was stronger than chains, stronger than blood, stronger than the greed of empires. The girl opened her eyes, her voice small but steady. "Then, we face the stars together?" He nodded, his tired lips curving into the faintest smile. Together, and with that single word, their story was no longer just survival. It was defiance, it was hope. It was the start of something the galaxy would never forget, a bond that shook the stars.